Hey, crafters, crocheters, knitters, yarn enthusiasts. Today is Saturday, February 5th. Today, 5th, 2022. My name is Jenny. Welcome back to Granny Square Peg. In case you guys didn't see my first video, I have damage to my rotator cuff and a cyst in my arm that is keeping me from crocheting for like the last year. And I'm working through my pile of stuff from projects that are started to ones that are finished, ones that were only partway finished. All the yarn I have stashed, my hooks, everything. I'm going through everything and I'm selling what I can since I can no longer crochet like I had been. Out in my shed I have 30 plus bins, boxes, and bags full of yarn projects and stuff. And in my house I have about 10 or 12, so I just picked a random bin today. We're going to open it up together, see what's in there, and go through it, okay? So hold on one second. Random bin number 2, I can tell you there's a blanket in there. Oh, yep. Let's see. Half double crochets maybe? In a linen stitch. Ooh, look at those colors. Okay. Let's see. The yarn I used. Stitch Studio by Nicole. Leftovers in a baggie. My receipt on how much I paid for the yarn. Notes on how many rows I got out of each color. Ball bands. Pair of scissors. And the hook that I used. So, let's sit down and take a look at this blanket and see what's going on, huh? Oh, is that the date I started it? May 8th, 2019. I'm going to go take a look at my computer and see if I've got any pictures and see when I started this blanket. I know you guys can't see that too well because of the glare, but I do have a picture folder. It says 2019. Oh, yep, and there it is. So I know that post-it said May, but my pictures are saying April. Wonder if May is when I finished it, but April's when I started. I know the lighting is not perfect in here today. So down at the bottom, it is a coral color, which is like a dark peach. And then there's a medium shade of teal. That yellow's coming out brighter in the camera than it is in real life. It's a little bit more muted than that. And then a minty shade of green that's a little darker than that. And then the fuchsia pink, right? And then that color in the middle is like half fuchsia but half purple. And then that at the top is such a dark shade of purple. But these are all leftovers from another project. So, looks like it's a good lap size blanket. Give you a close-up of the colors. Yeah, see, this yellow is so much warmer in person than it is in the camera. And it is made with half double crochets. Now, what did I do with it to make it special? Oh, I did the half double crochets in between the stitches. That's what I did. And I think the same for the border. Alright, so let's take it down and we'll get a closer look at it. Alright, so here's a close-up of the stitches and what I did for this blanket. So I had to go sort through the little ball band so I can figure out what color is which. Let's start with the simple details. I started this blanket in April 2019 and I finished it in May 2019, and they are, yarn is leftovers from a crochet along I did called Ubuntu. That blanket is somewhere else in the house. Let's see, the yarn is Stitch Studio by Nicole, and it's Storybook Lullaby. It is size 3, so it's medium weight. It's 100% acrylic. And that darker shade of purple I showed you all the way at the top is called Mulberry. The blue color is called Florina, which I think that's what I call teal. The green is called Honeydew. The yellow is called Duckling. The peachy or coral color that's right here is called Papaya. And the darker pink is called Princess Pink, while the lighter shade of pink is called Carnation. Alright, so, yeah, definitely a half double crochet. So what I did was whatever was left of the, what color is that again? Papaya? Yeah, I don't even know these colors off the top of my head. So whatever was left of the papaya is what I started with. And, ooh, I don't know what my starting chain was. I can count it out real quick. So I worked until the papaya was gone. And then I would finish the row with wherever the papaya left off. And then do 2 rows of this creamy color. They call this Goose. Now I call it a soft white or a cream color. So wherever the papaya had left off, I would have finished the row and then added in 2 rows of the goose color or the creamy white. And then, what did they call this one? Florina, which I called the teal, right? And wherever that left off, I did finish the row in the soft white and then did 2 more rows. And then Duckling for the yellow. I'm telling you this, it's such it's got some orange undertones, so it's a bit more golden than the camera's letting on. And then where that left off, I finished the row and then 2 more of the goose or the soft white. And then Honeydew. And then Carnation. Princess Pink. And Mulberry. Now, the only thing I have left to do with this blanket, you see this tail end? This is where the last stitch is, up on the border. That's all I have to sew in. Because I did all my tail ends with color changes as I went along. They're all tucked in. So this is all I have to do on this. And write up my notes, because right now off the top of my head I cannot tell you what my starting chain was on this blanket. Alright, so then the border. What did I do for the border? I went round and round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows for the border. My corners are a half double crochet chain 2 and a half double crochet in each corner to round it out. And so the whole bit of the blanket, these are all half double crochets. But the thing is, when you come back on the next row, instead of working in the top of the stitch, in where the loops are from the previous row, instead of working into the loops of the stitch, what I did is I went in between each stitch. Let's see if I can get that closer. You see that? So half double crochet in between each half double crochet. And I love the effect that it gives on the blanket because it pulls the stitches in a little bit, gives it a little bit more firmness to it, but it gives it some stretch. I love how it works out like that. Oh, it's beautiful. I love the color combination. It's such a good set of colors. Rainbow, but not. Let's see if we can see all those colors, huh? And there you go. The mulberry, the darker pink, the lighter pink, the honeydew, the duckling, the teal, down into the coral color. I love it. When you guys are working on blankets, I would suggest that you not do this. These are all the ball bands, and I write notes on the ball bands. When I started using it, when I finished using it, the receipt, just how many rows I got for each color, more ball bands, and then the little bits left over in a baggie. Don't do this. Get a notebook. Write it down in a notebook, you know? Okay, so I know we're sitting in front of my bookcases, but they work for me for filming because this is where I do a lot of my booktube filming. Alright, let's start with do you guys mind if I sit here and count the first initial chain and see how many stitches I have going on here? I would sing to you, give you some musical interlude, but no. Unfortunately, I don't have that part written down as far as I can tell, because I knew I could always go back and count it later. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to guess around 150. It's probably 130. So there we go. My initial chain was a start of 130. Okay, I got some good color blocks out of what I had left of the yarn that I was using. I probably would have had a little skein of it that was probably about this size. Let's see, 4.9 ounces when it's brand new and full. So these two are not full. This one is probably about half, and this one's probably less than half. I got some good color blocks out of it. Let's see, for the coral, my notes say I got 13 rows, okay? For the teal, I got 11 rows. For the yellow duckling, I got 10 rows. The honeydew green, I got 12 rows. The light pink, or what they call carnation, was 11. I got 11 rows out of that. Makes a good chunk of color blocking. The dark pink, which they call the princess pink, I got 10 rows. And this purple, which they called mulberry, you see I only got 8 rows out of that. It's a shame. I must have used it a lot in the previous blanket, so that's probably why there's not a lot left to it. And then, of course, this creamy, soft white is called goose. That's some good color blocking right there. All right, so size-wise, let's see. I'm 5'2". So it's just under 5 feet, so probably about 4 feet. 4 feet by 3.5 feet, maybe. So it's a lap size blanket. It's full on lap size or toddler size. Okay? And it is so soft. So that brings us to the yarn, right? Now, how about crochet hook? All right, I used an H. That's how Americans do our hooks, and everybody else in the rest of the world, it is a 5mm. So H or 5mm. I know the yarn is thin at a DK weight or a light worsted at a number 3, but because I was doing the half double crochet and I wanted to have some give and some stretch to it, I went up the hook size. So, and I think it came out beautifully. Alright, so the yarn. The yarn. Stitch Studio by Nicole, Storybook Lullaby, and I gave you all the colors, right? It was sold at a craft store called AC Moore, and in my area I had 2, 3 AC Moores that I could go to, because I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, so you know I got a lot of shopping options. But I only had one. It was only 15 minutes down the road. But inside of AC Moore, they would sell Red Heart, Burnett, Karen, Simply Soft. They sold a little bit of everything. And then they started their own line of yarn. So this Stitch Studio by Nicole was AC Moore's version of yarn, okay? And this stuff is super soft. It's got that satiny feel to it. And I liked it. And it is holding up over time a little bit, because my other blanket that I made for the crochet along is currently upstairs on one of the kids' beds. So yeah, it makes a really nice soft blanket. Unfortunately, AC Moore went out of business. I mean, it's been in my area for as long as I can remember, 30 years, and was it in 2020? It's a possibility that it was in 2020 when the world kind of went a little haywire, that they went out of business. They closed all of their stores. So I don't think you can get this yarn anymore. And for that, I'm sorry, but I mean, anytime you've got any kind of leftovers, I mean, that's what my blankets, they're perfect for any kind of yarn, any kind of leftovers that you got. They half double crochet. When you do it in between, they half double crochets from the row before. I mean, you don't even have to count your stitches, and you don't even have to pay attention to what you're doing. If you want to watch TV while crocheting. It is so simple. It is so easy. So, what are the other details on it? So, it is 100% acrylic. It was 4.9 ounces. They were all half skeins or less. And I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors. And then the goose, so that's 8 colors. And the blanket came out roughly 4 feet by 3.5 feet. So, machine wash on gentle, and I would always suggest cold water, never hot water. Hot water can melt acrylic fibers. You can tumble dry it on low or lay it flat out on your floor and just leave it there for a day or two so it can dry that way. On your dryer, either have a low setting or the no air fluff setting is always the best for any kind of crocheted or knitted blanket. So, the crochet along I did was probably in 2018. The leftovers probably sat around for a couple months, and then I made this in April 2019 to May 2019. So it would take me about a month. If I leave the footage in, I had scrolled through my computer real quick just to see the dates on it, because thankfully I do take pictures of things, so that helps me date almost everything that I make. But inside of this bin, I mean, the blanket was in there. These two, this is what I had left of the yarn that I didn't use in the blanket. A pair of scissors were in there. My hook was in there, so I wouldn't have been able to use this hook for as long as it was sitting in this bin. For 2 years, I haven't been able to use this hook. I get so frustrated with myself for things like that. And then these are the only notes I wrote down. Like, I don't even have my starting chain written down. Just how many rows I got out of each color. And then the ball bands. I mean, I don't know why, as crocheters and knitters and crafters, I don't know why we do this. I don't know why we save them all the time. When you're done with them, throw them away. Get rid of them. It's not going to hurt you to get rid of them. Write everything down in a notebook. Take pictures and put them in your folder. Put them in a picture folder on your computer to help keep track. You know what? I'm sorry. The fibers are flying around and it's bothering my allergies. So, I mean, look at it. Look at all these ball bands. I mean, this is from the original Crochet Along, I think, because I used the soft white so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, And then this little bit was for the leftover blanket. That's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. If I give you any advice, it's get rid of the ball bands when you're done with them. There is no point in saving them. Write down the information about the yarn on a notebook, in a notebook, and get rid of these. Because as soon as I'm done with this video, and I write out a set of notes, I'm getting rid of all these ball bands. Throwing them all away. You don't need them. And then the receipt for the yarn, that's from 2019. Like, I don't even need for my budget anymore. I bought 1, 2, 3 balls of yarn. Something else. Oh, and a paper trimmer. Oh my goodness. Because they were having the yarn on sale. Like, I paid $2.88 for it instead of $5.99. So $5.99, $6 for each little ball of yarn. At how many did I count there? More than 20. So $5.99 times 20. It's $120 worth of yarn. That's just, I don't know. I don't know why we do that. Yeah, I know. It sounds like I'm complaining. I am a little bit. I'm very frustrated with myself for letting all of this sit and pile up the way it has. I mean, if you guys have watched my first video, if you saw that footage from my shed, I mean, 30 bin boxes, bags in my shed full of projects and the yarn that goes with it, and then all of my tools that I can never find because they're sitting with the projects, and then all this. I'm so frustrated with myself. So that's why I'm going through all this, so I can vent a little bit to the camera, put it on YouTube so people can identify with that and commiserate with me and send messages and say, hey, you know what, I've been through the same thing, I've already been through it, and you'll be fine, you'll get through it, right? And then other people who are going to say, you know what, I'm currently doing that right now, thanks for the help, you know? So here's the little bits that I couldn't actually use in the blanket. They're in a baggie. My mom is currently working on a scrap blanket, so maybe I'll see if my mom needs any of it. You know, hey mom, see, I'm working through my pile of stuff. Alright, so here's the thing. When I'm working through the pile of stuff, the blanket, I'm going to tie off that tail end. I'm going to write down its dimensions, its washing instructions, and I'm going to list it in my Etsy shop. So if you got a baby coming along, or you need to keep your lap warm when you're watching TV, reading a book, working on another project, the blanket will be for sale. I'm not going to sell this yarn because it's partially used, so I don't think people want to buy used yarn, do they? And the hook, I'm gathering all my hooks and I'm putting them in a little hook case. I'm gathering them all together, and we're going to count them when we get to the last bin, the last box, the last bag. We're going to count how many hooks I come across, how many pairs of scissors I come across, right? And maybe we'll keep a running total of all the blankets. I'm not going to count the yarn because it comes in so many different sizes and shapes, between these little leftover bits to partial skeins and to full-size, never used cakes. Yarn comes in so many different sizes and shapes. I'm not going to count that as I go along. So this blanket needs a name. It needs a name. I can't call every blanket I make a rainbow blanket because I use leftover yarn for all of them, and they're always like some version of a rainbow color. I can't call them all rainbow blankets, right? It'd be like rainbow blanket number 1, rainbow blanket number 2. I don't know. And using the word scrap in the title, that gives it the wrong impression. Because, I mean, we call our yarn scrap yarn, but it's not. It's just leftovers from other projects. So, I don't know. I would call it fun with half double crochets. in between the stitches. But that's a mouthful too. Well, I don't know. I will put the link to my Etsy shop down in the description box below. There's not much in there right now. I only have one blanket listed in there and one set of Karen Cakes yarn. Etsy is a slow going. They want a lot of information for one listing. It's like we got to fill out 29 information boxes just to list something at Etsy. But we figure that's the best platform for now because it's a handmade platform and I can also sell the yarn there as a tool and a supply. So I'll leave the link down below, and as soon as I sit with the blanket, count all my stitches, count all the rows, count the border, I'll write up a blog post so you guys can have a reference if you want to make a blanket like this. I would highly suggest trying the half double crochet in between stitches because it is just absolutely fun. And it's simple. That you don't have to do any counting and you don't have to pay any attention to it. It's just however wide you want it and then however tall you want it, you know. And then I did the same stitching for the border, and then I make my corners pretty big because if you don't, they you know how your border will pull up if you've got too many stitches in the corner and it gets all buckled. So I make my corners nice and loose. I put a lot of stitches in the corner. So for this one I did a half double crochet, chain 2, and then a half double crochet, and that's what I did for the borders to make it nice and loose. So I hope you guys liked today's video. Hopefully it was coherent and linear, and yeah, so if you did like today's video, hit the thumbs up button. Okay, give it a like. Leave a comment down below and subscribe if you want to see more of what I'm going through with losing my ability to crochet and being frustrated at myself, if you want to watch my struggles. Yeah, so that's it. I will see you guys next Saturday for whatever other random bin I pull out of the pile, okay? Bye!